All right, Rachel Nichols, can I start this show with a borderline misogynistic complaint?
Man, this could go in any direction. Go ahead. Give it a roll.
Why do women have such a hard time refilling a gas tank?
In what way? I'm
Not
very good at
doing it.
refilling it. Oh, you mean waiting until the last moment?
So I get
because
in my
that is
car-
my move.
Right. I get in my car. My wife was out earlier in the day driving
Yes.
around, running some errands.
Yes.
I get in the car to drive here to the studio.
Yes.
And there's literally nothing. Like, it is as bone dry
Yes.
as you can get. I'm going the quarter mile to the gas station, basically cruising.
Right.
Like I'm hitting
You're
the
like, I
gas.
hope this
And
works.
just going, like, hoping I get there. And that is not the first time
No.
I've done that. So I'm just attributing it to the fair sex. I'm going to
gonna give you-
blanket.
Two answers.
Okay.
Because women are always doing more than the men they live with.
That's probably
So it is lower down the priority list.
Yeah.
And then second of all, we are used to stretching everything we have to reach maximum efficiency and accomplishment because we are forced to do that more in life. So I feel that both of those are habits that lead to emptier gas tanks because I got to say, same way in my house.
See, like, my wife has taken the approach of it's dangerous at gas stations. My wife,
I mean,
who
by
is,
the way, I don't mean to laugh because it absolutely can be dangerous at gas stations. I just like that that's the approach she's taken with you.
that's what she's taken, yes. My wife, the former world champion boxer. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just
Resident
making sure.
badass in the
Yes.
family. If there's a badass in my family, it's not me.
I mean, by the way, that was probably going to be true no matter who you married.
Probably.
But definitely
When my
now.
son is born, I will be third in the list of badasses
Yes.
in my
Yes.
family.
This is the final countdown. We're in the final countdown.
I may not be here next week.
I
may not
know.
be.
It might
You
just
never
be
know.
me and Evan Turner.
You and Evan Turner.
We
know?
could be partying in your absence.
Rocking
What
and
should we
rolling.
do with this pod when you're out on paternity leave?
I don't know, Evan likes to go some wild places though, so you have to
Okay.
like watch back some of the
Oh,
Mannix and Turner.
I'm a
I
Turner
know.
and Maddox listener.
I would listen because
Mannix
Evan likes
listener?
to go deep sometimes. Evan will send you
Okay.
some texts that are like out there. He likes to go deep on some
Okay.
topics sometimes.
I just,
It's interesting.
I want to know what would annoy you the most, and we're going to then go do that.
Excellent. I approve.
We'll
of that.
work on that.
All right, we are a quarter of the way through the season.
I couldn't believe that when you texted me.
Incredible.
This.
Quarter of the way through the season, right around 20 games for
Yep.
most of the teams in the NBA. So on this episode, we are going to hand out our quarter season awards. We're going to look at the major award categories: MVP, Coach of the Year, Rookie, Sixth Man, all that good stuff. Before we get there, though, there's one topic I wanted to hit on, and that was what we saw in Memphis the other night, where Klay Thompson and John Morant, who are not friendly, I would say. Klay Thompson, the Memphis Grizzlies, this version of the Memphis Grizzlies, is not friendly. Klay, had some words to say about them back in 2022.
Right.
Of course, after the Grizzlies had a lot of words to say about the state of the Western Conference.
Yep.
In the game the other night between Dallas and Memphis, at the end of the game, a Grizzlies win, Klay Thompson and John Morant got into it. John Morant was in street clothes, still out with the calf injury, I guess. And he was getting in the face of Klay Thompson, pointing at him, basically saying, "You're a bum." That was what the cameras picked up. I want to play what Klay Thompson said about John Morant after the game. I'll play that clip. 3, 2, and 1. All right, so pick a side here, Rachel. Are you Team Ja or are you Team Klay?
I mean, are there sides?
There are sides, but I'm just putting it out
Aren't
there
we
as
all?
such.
Look, I thought the best description I've heard about this in the last 24 hours was Howard Beck, our friend, who said, look, Klay Thompson's a made man and you're not. And as someone who recently rewatched Goodfellas for the 3,000th and 600th time, I can tell you it is the perfect way to say it. You can't screw with a made man. And Klay Thompson has won 4 rings and John Morant has won 1 playoff series. And you're not even playing in this game. If you're playing in this game, maybe, but considering especially, and Klay did a lovely job of doing the "I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed in you" post-game comments to sort of point out all of these different areas where Ja has been deficient. He didn't miss a note here because he's Klay Thompson and he's a great troll. That especially at a time where you are failing in being the player that you yourself told us you were going to be, both in availability, both in maturity, both in terms of team leadership, and in just sort of every single category, statistically, emotionally. I just don't think that you can then go at someone else who is clearly, yes, going toward the end of a first ballot Hall of Fame career. Everyone gets old, man. You don't get to take shots at someone like, man, ha, you're getting older than you are, and you've still done more than I'll ever do. I mean, it seemed insane to me.
Yeah. I saw another stat that since Klay Thompson tore his Achilles and his ACL, he has played more games than Ja Morant.
Yes.
He has been more present in NBA games than Ja Morant. I don't like just the lack of self-awareness from Morant is something else.
But the reason why this is interesting beyond just we love the NBA when it gets petty, and this is a great night for petty in the NBA, is that we've been starting to have the conversation of what if you did feel like you were Memphis and you could trade Ja Morant, which again, I'm still not sure that they're in that spot yet in terms of all of the ingredients involved, but who is going to want him? And every time he goes and does something like this, you are telling any team that might want to take a chance on him basketball-wise that he is not at the maturity level that he should be. And what is that going to do to your locker room? And what is that going to do with your fan base? And all of the different X factors that a guy who doesn't understand this stuff brings.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Klay Thompson is one of the most accomplished players of this era. The 4 championships, the 3-point productivity, the playoff performances,
series saving games.
Yeah, he has done more in one season than Ja Morant has accomplished in an entire career. Ja Morant really had that one great year where he was 7th in the MVP voting, an all-star, looked like the next generation superstar. Since then, off the court issues, on the court injuries, underperforming, coach killing. These are the things that Ja Morant is known for. Klay Thompson will forever be known as a winner. He is on the back nine of his career, probably deteriorating faster than most people thought he would. Obviously, the legs aren't what they used to be, mostly because of the injuries. But he's still doing more right now for his team than Ja Morant actually is. Ja Morant, the last times we've seen him on the court, has looked like he was quitting.
Yes.
Has looked like he was, pulling a move to get out of Memphis. When did Klay Thompson do that? How miserable was Klay Thompson that final year in Golden State? Did anybody say he quit on the team?
Never.
That year? No. He was frustrated.
Yeah, or moody
his role was
sometimes.
changing. Brandon Projemski was there. There was obviously a change in the guard that was coming. He wasn't getting paid what he wanted to get paid. Didn't quit. May have sulked a little bit. Happens. He's in the last year of his contract. He knows what's coming. His own teammates described him as miserable that year internally as being miserable, but didn't quit on his team.
And didn't try to sabotage his team.
No, never. I don't care. We played the clip. I thought Klay, I thought he could have gone a lot worse. He could have gone a lot further. He could have taken the blowtorch out.
I think he knew he did enough. By the way, the whole lead into that was I have a lot of respect for the grit and grind Grizzlies.
Yeah. Yeah. Different era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those guys
were tough. Those guys were hard. Those guys proved something. No, they didn't win a championship. They got to a conference finals, but those guys
Klay
were
also
winners.
part of the winningest team in NBA history.
Yeah.
There's just so many things.
I don't know how you sit around and point to him and call him a bum when you've done nothing.
Yeah.
Literally nothing.
Made man.
In the context of what you should be to what you are, you've done nothing. That, to me, was wild to see him in street clothes, going on the court, pointing at Klay Thompson. I thought Klay did him a favor. I thought Klay could have gone out there and burned him a lot worse, said some things that would have buried him a lot deeper.
If you're the Sacramento Kings,
who
is the one team you seem to think could trade for Ja Morant? I'm just quoting you back to you. Does this influence your thinking?
If you're Sacramento, sure you do it, because what do you have to lose? You've got a team that just got drop-kicked by the Grizzlies by around 40. So there's really not any risk there for the Kings. What are you going to do? Trade Zach LaVine and a first? They even have a first? Trade some of that to go get Ja Morant at, best case, he turns into the player he seemed once destined to be. Worst case, you're kind of right back where you were with a bunch of malcontents that don't really fit on your roster. I saw the interview that Scott Perry did with Sam Amick at The Athletic. And just wild. Some of this we figured this was going to be I'm paraphrasing, but figured this was going to be a learning year. We're going to figure some things out with this team. And I'm good with Doug Christie. There's nothing good about this team. There's nothing good about this team. If they had relegation in sports, they'd be relegated to the G League. That's how bad they've been all season long.
We will not spend too much time on the Kings for obvious reasons on this podcast, but that is a grab, defeat from the jaws of victory last 3 or 4 years, if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Very bad.
You got to work hard to get this bad after being that hopeful.
Yeah. What, 3 years ago?
Yeah,
That they were
it's not
lighting the
that
beam
long.
and
Yeah.
fighting off Golden State in the first round, or fighting Golden State in the
Dude,
first
you
round.
had Tyrese Halliburton and
Forget even Halliburton. Like even like with Sabonis
Fox.
there, like Sabonis, Fox. I don't know if Keegan Murray was there yet, but a young core.
the coach
Kevin
of the New
Huerter,
York Knicks was there.
Mike Brown, coach of the year that year in Sacramento, to be here with no hope.
Apparently,
There's no
all
hope.
you need is John Morant, according to you. Your team,
I'm
your
just
Kings.
saying, there's no
There's
no risk in my Kings. There's no risk in the Kings acquiring John Morant. No risk. I mean, I don't think he'd be happy there.
No.
I mean, maybe Doug Christie puts the ball in his hand and says, "Hey, you do whatever you want to do." But I don't know. That's a team going nowhere in Sacramento and a player going nowhere in Memphis. All right, let's get into our awards here, and let's start at the very top, the MVP, which seems like once again is a two-player race.
You think so?
I do.
Oh, I don't think.
Oh, you're thinking it's deeper than that. See, the two players I'm thinking about obviously are Shea and Nikola
Yes.
Jokic, who once again are at the very top. You see some depth this race. Before you give me your winner, give me the depth. How deep are you going with your MVP ballot there right now?
I'm going 3 and then like a consolation.
Okay. I think I know where
do
you're going
that?
to go with 3. I didn't get the. Go ahead. I think I know where you're going with 3, but I wasn't able to get it.
Okay. I mean, the consolation is just emotional.
Yeah.
Frankly. Okay. So yes, obviously Shea and Jokic. I think Luka at the moment. And by the way, I'm making this point because we're only a quarter of the way through the season.
Yeah.
So we just still have to see. You're asking me, I am not projecting out to what's going to happen for the next 3 quarters of the season. This is not a prediction of who is going to be in the top 3 or how deep we're going to go in terms of really who it's between. This is if the MVP had to be voted on right now.
Right.
And I think Luka is, quote, in the conversation, like we like to say, in that top 3. He's leading the league in scoring. He's averaging nearly a triple-double. Defense has actually been solid. He's had a
steals are good.
He's had a 5-steal game and a pair of 4-steal games in a season that's still relatively young, right? That's 3 games out of the only 20 that we're talking about that he's had 4 or 5 steal performances. That's not nothing. I'm not putting him as number 1. I'm just saying that this is a 3-way conversation in my mind. And then my consolation is like, man, Giannis is playing at an MVP level when he's playing. The on-off numbers with Giannis and the Bucks, when he is on the court, they are the best offense in the NBA. When he is off the court, they are the worst offense in the NBA. And it is just hard because they are also 11th in the East as we sit here. Giannis is out for a few weeks. It's not a tenable MVP vote at the moment. But he is playing at that level, and it just kind of sucks that circumstances aren't putting him, quote, in the conversation. My conversation, though, is 3 people deep at the moment.
All right, so 3 people deep. Give me the top of your list.
The top of my list is Shea.
Yeah,
and I know
thought you
a
might
lot
go
of people.
Jokic, but I know we
I
have
know
a
a lot
debate.
of people want to give it to Jokic because he didn't win last year, and they both deserved it last year. Frankly,
There's like a predisposition to favor Jokic coming into the season because most people believe last season and right now he is the best player in the NBA. You talk to across the league,
which I believe. By the way,
yes, I think we all kind of believe that, and that Shea got it because of the numbers, but in part because they finished a country mile in Oklahoma City better than everybody. 16 games up on anybody in the tough Western Conference. I do think there was a predisposition to favor Jokic coming into this year, but I'm with you. You give me your reason first, and I'll give you mine.
Look, I think it's very, very close. I think it could change over the next, 3 quarters of the season, including the next few months, which I do want to talk about when we get to the Jokic part of the conversation.
Can I just add one thing to this?
Please.
In a bizarro quirk of the schedule, the Thunder and Nuggets don't play till February 1st. And then they play 4 times from February 1st on, all the way to like the penultimate game, I think, of the regular season.
Yeah.
So they are... There's going to be a lot of one-on-one matchups between Jokic and Shea that are probably going to go a long way towards
right into
determining
awards.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. No question. But again, this is for where we are 20 games in, right? And where we are 20 games in, you have a guy who has sat out 9 fourth quarters over 16 games. I haven't updated this since I wrote this down when you sent me the text the other day.
I think he sat the whole fourth last night when they
so
boat
now we're
raced
at 10.
your Portland Trailblazers.
10 over 18 or something like that, which basically means that all the stats we talk about him with, he is doing in so many fewer minutes than everybody else. He is scoring basically a point a minute. And when Joel Embiid was scoring a point a minute, we talked about him as the MVP. I mean, scoring a point a minute is a really big deal, guys. Mm-hmm. And so that's a big part of it. Despite he's not even volume 3-point shooter to get that point a minute. So that's also sort of a factor into this. He scored less than 30 only 3 times this season. I just sort of feel like you can't look at what he's doing in the amount of time he's doing it. And that's really what kind of tipped me over the edge, because I started out this exercise thinking, frankly, what I thought going into the season, which you just talked about, which is Jokic is the best player. I still believe that. Jokic, in terms of his all-around game, if I had to pick who I wanted to start a team with today for this season, I would pick Nikola Jokic. So I think his skill set is the least replaceable between the two of those guys, those kinds of things. And maybe that's part of most valuable player. I do want to talk about that because it is my favorite subject in the NBA, is what makes an MVP. But the fact that Shea is doing this in 3/4 of the time largely that everybody else is, you can't ignore that. And again, they are number 1 in the West again, and they are on pace for 70 games. And I actually don't know what they're on pace for in this particular
on pace
second.
For like 80 right now.
But right, well, that's what I mean. It's over 70, obviously. But I think that there's, it's one of these things where we're going to sit there like, oh, could they? I think they're going to make sure they don't break the record, because after 2016, it almost feels like in the NBA that people are superstitious that if you break the record, you're not going to win the finals, or it took too much out of you, or whatever. But they certainly could with this kind of team. I was a little bit reluctant to give it to Shea because of who else is on the team, and then you're like, yeah, but Jay Will's not even playing right now.
This was my point. This. So they're not running away with the West yet, because the Nuggets are really good. They're like 3 or 4 games up right now on Denver as we tape this.
Lakers, by the way, number 2 in the West at the moment, which is another Luka argument.
A good Luka argument. You're right. He's definitely in that conversation. But the fact that Oklahoma City has the number 1 defense in the NBA by a wide margin, has a top 5 offense, and is doing all this without an all-star 2 guard who is a great scorer and was on the second team all defense last year, like an elite wing. Had Lou Dort miss a ton of time already, 7-8 games, I think, on this season. Shea is steering all this. Like, Chet Holmgren's also having an all-star year.
Absolutely.
Guys like AJ Mitchell, who we're going to talk about, are playing fantastic. They're still one of the deepest team in the NBA. But Shea, in a lot of meaningful ways, is strapping this team on his back and carrying them to this ridiculous start this early in the season. I want to read some of the numbers I was looking up. Like, he is, and I don't want to say he's the most unguardable player in the league, because I think Jokic is.
I was going to say, that's the thing. Jokic is the most unguardable player in the league.
But Shea's shot portfolio is insane. Like, right now he's shooting, I think this isn't updated from the game against Portland, but he's shooting 41% from 3 on the season. That's a career high for him. He takes the 5th most shots per game from the mid-range. So he's shooting mid-range jumpers. He's 4.7 attempts per game in the restricted area. So he's scoring a lot in the paint. People call him a free throw merchant. Here's a great stat that I was looking up. If you can tell, I've done a lot of work on Shea lately.
I was going to say.
Of the top 50 guys that go to the basket, the quote drivers in the NBA, Shea is 18th in free throw attempts. So it's not like he's the number 1 guy when it comes to free throw attempts. People call him that old free throw merchant tag. The numbers don't back that up.
No.
They don't. One more step on that's deep in the weeds here, but Shea is leading the league in field goal attempts coming off drives.
Right.
He's 3rd in the league in passes out of drives. He's 5th in assists out of drives, and he's tied for 33rd in turnovers off of drives. So he's playing an efficient, relatively turnover-free basketball when he's going to the rim. His shot profile is ridiculous. How efficient he is from every area of the floor is different. It's special. And with Oklahoma City leading the West, with all the guys they've had out, specifically Jalen Williams, who is a star. Jalen Williams is going to be a superstar. To only have 1 loss, which, by the way, came on a back-to-back after one of those NBC games that started 8 o'clock in the West Coast, and you get to Portland at 4 o'clock in the morning. They still lost, I think, by 2 points in that game.
No, I saw them the night before, and they told me they were getting into their hotel at 5 in the morning.
Crazy scheduling quirk. That's the one game that they lost. Otherwise, they're absolutely mowing everybody down. Shea's got my vote.
I mean, look, can I do my thing now?
Yes.
Can I do the MVP
Please.
thing? I have been saying for more than a decade at this point, the NBA needs to at least consider revamping the way it works the
you love
awards.
this. You love
I
this,
do love
yes.
this. The NFL has revamped its awards. The NHL has revamped its awards. It is time for the NBA to take a look at revamping this because people, A, are voting on very different things, which I know is in some ways the beauty of the MVP vote, right? Some voters vote about this. Some voters vote about that. I'm not sure it's so great. And it's not that I can't decide. All of you internet people out there, it's not like, oh, she's a girl, she can't pick between her favorites. That's not it. It's that we're voting for different things. Who the most valuable person is, who you'd pick first if you were starting a team today, and not for like the future, but for this season, is a different person often than who is having the best statistical season. Best season, statistically, and best or most valuable player are often two different things. And by the way, when they are the same person, and some years they are, that's even cooler. That would be even cooler to have somebody win both awards. We would be able to start making a better distinction between who is great and who is cosmically great. Because the most valuable player in the NBA, the person I would start a team with, is still Nikola Jokic. He can do things that Shea can't do. He has a non-replicatable skill set. So if I was starting a team, I'd start with him because then I could put people around him, whereas with Shea, I couldn't put another Jokic next to him. There are certain things that make a guy valuable in a way. Well, you can say that, but he's not Jokic.
He's not. Doesn't have the size of Jokic for starters.
He's not. And all of the other things. I mean, I love Şengün, but he's not Nikola Jokic, and he'll be the first person to tell you that.
He does tell you that. Yeah.
I just think that value and best stats are two different things. They're related, but they're not the same. And to keep pretending they're the same when the NFL has a best offensive player and an MVP, when the NHL has best goal scorer statistically, I mean, it's not a vote, it's just these are the stats, here's who had the best stats, and they have an MVP, they have a best scorer, and they have an MVP. These are different things. Other leagues, major pro sports leagues, not just like some fantasy league somewhere, recognize that these are different things. And the NBA, in my opinion, needs awards reform at the top because then again, not because, oh my gosh, I can't decide, but I happen to think right now, Nikola Jokic is the most valuable player, but I think Shea is having the kind of season that you can't not talk about.
I would argue though, and maybe this doesn't hold up over a full season, I would argue right now though, Shea is the best player and the MVP.
Great.
Because
that's a great argument to have. Why can't we have that argument?
Fair.
Right?
Yes. The NBA, by the way, will never do this. As you.
I don't know why. They do all kinds of things. The NBA is honestly like I cover a lot of different sports, and the NBA is the most responsive league. The NBA is the least afraid to change things
All-star
because,
game.
quote,
All-star
this
game.
is the way we've always done them. No, I think the NBA gets so much credit for understanding that the game changes, times change, all of the things, and it has surprised me that they have been so reluctant in this particular area because the other leagues in the same amount of time have done it. I'm not taking this out of the air. This is not my personal theory. This is modeling after what the other leagues have realized. And I think that it could actually provide us with a lot more interesting conversations, not because someone can't decide, but because they are different things.
All right, let's talk about Coach of the Year.
Wait, are we talking about Jokic at all or no? You're not.
No, I'm good. Look, he's Jokic. He's an all-time great. Like he's the same. Look, his numbers last year were better than they were during his MVP seasons. He is the most consistently great player.
Have you seen his shot chart?
It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's literally just all green.
Yes.
The entire court is green.
Yes. There's no argument against Nikola Jokic. I just think that the edge Shea gets, and look, Jokic, if the Nuggets stay in the mix over the next few weeks with Christian Brown out, with Aaron Gordon out, like that enhances Jokic's case. We could have a different conversation.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
At the midway point.
The reason I wanted to bring it, just circle back to him, is Aaron Gordon is out for 4 to 6 weeks, but I think that's going to be closer to 2 months because it's a hamstring. He already had a hamstring issue last year, different hamstring, but still, you don't want to mess with it. I just think it's going to be 2 months. He's so important to that team. Christian Brown, another starter, out a month plus. So again, we're going to get back to a little bit of what we saw last year, where everything is on Nikola Jokic's shoulders. I think he will play a lot more minutes. I think that Jamal Murray obviously will be key. Some of the guys on the bench are going to have to step up. But if he is able to lead them through these next couple months with 2 of the starters on the team down, I think that may shift for some people who is number 1.
100%, might with me. Yeah.
And so
if they're right there neck and neck with
that.
Oklahoma City, at the midway point of the season, we do this again, I'd probably lean towards Jokic for MVP. Well, football season is in full swing, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. And it's that time again. Feast Week is back on Underdog. From November 26th through November 30th, check the app daily for special promos. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and more. This week on Underdog, I am taking my guy Drake May to go over on passing yardages and touchdowns. The New England Patriots are back. As a proud Bostonian, I am happy to support the next Tom Brady in New England. So download the app today and use promo code OPENFLOOR to score $100 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code OPENFLOOR. Underdog. Make picks, win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Coach of the year.
Yeah.
Hopefully we have some disagreement on this one. I'll let you go first because I think I went 3 deep with the guys I really considered for that number 1 spot. Give me your top 3.
Okay. I'm very interested to see if we have the number 1 together. Darko Rajakovic.
Yeah.
Raptors
Right
coach.
there.
No?
He was right there. So my number 1
Yes.
was JB Bickerstaff.
Okay.
I'll admit, am I partly influenced by the fact that he didn't win it last year?
Did you vote for him last year?
I don't remember. I don't think I
You and I had the argument last year.
can't believe I can't remember my votes from last year. But
You told me this was going into, I don't know what you actually marked on your ballot. I did not double check your homework. But when you and I had the argument last year, you were arguing for Bickerstaff and
Yes.
I was not.
because they had, what was it, a 30-win
It
improvement?
was very close,
It was
but
the
you
most
had
unexpected
to go. You
leap.
still had to go with the guy who led Cleveland to an even
60-some
bigger
odd
lead.
wins, yeah.
Yes,
It was
in my opinion.
Another one where you flip a coin,
Yeah.
can't really lose there. I
Okay.
feel like I definitely entered this cycle predisposed to wanting to give JB Bickerstaff the benefit of the doubt, to see what he can do with this group. But I think it's been a great coaching job. Look, you're seeing Cade Cunningham take another step forward. You're seeing Jalen Duren, who we're going to talk about,
Yes.
take another step forward. Oscar Thompson, another step forward. This is a team that shook up the veterans on its bench, part of its rotation, and hasn't missed a beat. The guys they brought in have replaced the guys that have left, and they're sitting right now as we tape this top of the Eastern Conference.
JB Bickerstaff is in my top 3.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. However, just because the guy isn't your top vote getter doesn't mean you think he's trash. So I just want to keep repeating that. Oh, gee, he didn't do anything.
No.
However, to me, I can't put him at number 1 if you have Cade Cunningham, if you have Jalen Duren. My Coach of the Year vote, and again, this isn't back under the category of everyone votes a little differently, my Coach of the Year vote usually goes to someone who has done the most, not with the least, but with less than the obvious, I think it's actually hard to coach a Steph Curry-led Warriors team. I think there's a lot of different things Steve Kerr does that he never gets credit for, but I'm not voting him Coach of the Year, right? So I just think that there are times when JB Bickerstaff, and yes, he's a little bit of a victim of his own creation. He helped Cade Cunningham become Cade Cunningham. He's helped Jalen Duren become Jalen Duren. But also that means that I'm a little bit more inclined to give someone like Darko the nod right now, only 20 games in. This may change. The Raptors may fall apart. Just because we talked about the Raptors last week, and I think he is putting each guy in such a good position to maximize the talents they have. And I appreciate the turnaround that they've had as well.
Yeah, he was number 2 on my list. I think the Raptors were better than what they showed last season. They obviously didn't have Ingram after he was acquired, that whole bunch of injuries. Scotty Barnes has kind of reclaimed his spot amongst the best young wings in the NBA. You're seeing his shooting percentages back to the level they were 2 years ago when he was an all-star. Darko has a lot to do with that. And look, he's found an offensive system that works with these guys. It's certainly helpful when you've got a guy like Brandon Ingram who can get you a bucket in the half court. They were lacking that last year. I thought Darko's done a nice job of integrating Ingram into that mix. Continued development from RJ Barrett, Manuel Quickley, Jamal Sheed. I want to talk about him in a little bit. They've got a bunch of guys on their bench that could play. He's right there at number 2. I'm curious, I think the Pistons are for real.
Oh, yeah.
I think Detroit is going to be
in this East? Absolutely.
I think they're going to be number 1, number 2 in the East at the end of the season. I believe that. I don't know yet if Toronto's for real. They look great so far.
But that's what we're voting
them
on right now.
What's that?
You and I are voting on
right. I think
a quarter of the season in. I'm not voting on. This is not a futures market.
Right.
We are not like every other hedge fund in the world starting a futures market.
All right. So you've got Darko at number 1. I've got JB at number 1. Did you have JB at 2 or?
Sure. I have Spoelstra in there as well.
Spoelstra was my number 3.
So, I just sort of was like, here's my number 1. Yeah. Here's the other 2 guys I think are in the conversation. And completely change. First of all, this goes back a little bit to who's the best player in the NBA. Eric Spoelstra is just one of the best coaches in the league and has been.
He is the best coach. Full stop. He's
the best coach, right?
Yeah.
So I think that enters into this conversation. But also, he was willing to this summer completely rip up their playing style and play. He's the first person who, when LeBron was there, to sort of bring in this positionless basketball idea, and teams have, gone with it, receded from going with it, et cetera. But that came out of his coaching sort of brain there. Now that he's going with the we don't do pick and rolls and sort of the whole sort of free form, it's amazing.
They don't run plays.
Well, that's what one of the broadcasts was keeping tabs on, had the camera on him and said that an entire half he didn't call a single play.
No, they don't. They understand this is the Noah LaRoche offense. This is the Noah LaRoche, former Grizzlies assistant, was broomed out when Taylor Jenkins was fired. This is his offensive system. And to Eric
John
Spoelstra's,
Morant would not want any of this.
Did not want anything to do with it. To Eric Spoelstra's credit, he looked at his roster and said, look, there's no Jimmy Butler. We are no longer a grind-out offensive team. We're not a team that's going to rely on Jimmy's singular talents to get us buckets in the half court.
Yep.
And he went out there and blew the whole thing up and created this, didn't create, but brought in LaRoche, who brought this offensive system where they're just running and gunning, playing one of the fastest paces in the NBA, getting shots off inside 7 seconds a lot, just going every single time. Bucket, no bucket, they're just going. That's a remarkable, that's a coaching job right there. Everybody else, we talked about Darko and JB, development is part of it. And that's part of Coach of the Year, I think, but it's development. This is straight coaching.
I agree.
This is Eric Spoelstra being you know what?
That's
not going to work with this group. I'm going to go with this.
This is why I'm not ready to say he's number 3.
Yeah.
I think he's right up there. I think this is a close conversation. We're only, as you say, 20 games in or whatever we are for each team. But I think he is in that mix unbelievably. And by the way, it's a fun team to watch. And I am never.
Which you didn't always say about Miami.
Well, that's what I mean. I am never too far. And look, this goes back to my Milwaukee argument over the summer. I am never too far away from being a fan to say that only one team wins the title every year. There's a whole batch of teams not even in contention for the title every year. The idea, this is an entertainment league. It's supposed to be fun for the fans who spend their time and money and invest all of their lives sometimes in these teams, and they are making Miami Heat fans have fun. And that is a value category for me, because in the end, that's what this is all about, right?
Yeah, and look, they're getting Tyler Hero back this week.
Tonight, I think, as we sit here.
So that's a 20-plus point per game scorer.
Yep.
Who looks like he's well built to play in this type of system.
I think he's perfect for this. I think this is going to be great.
Yeah.
And by the way, if he takes a little while to work himself in, so what? Yeah. You know what he can do? Shoot the basketball, which is great in this offense as well.
Very competitive Coach of the Year race right now. Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Interesting group. I think coming into this season, there was probably a belief that Cooper Flagg was going to run away with it. He's number 1 overall pick, looked NBA ready, coming to a winning team, didn't have to put up big numbers, but could if you wanted to. It's competitive. So give me your number 1 right now.
Okay, you actually did not include Rookie of the Year on your list.
Oh, I
you
didn't.
Sent me.
All right.
So I did not game this one out. I would say, and first of all, I don't know if you just want to do this race because you want to be able to say Con Knipple,
I do want to be able to say Con Knipple
16 times in a row without messing it up. Look, I didn't write down a bunch of stats for this one. Do I think, this is a little bit of my futures betting. Do I think Cooper Flagg is going to end up being the Rookie of the Year? Yes, because in this first 20 games, he spent a chunk of that time being asked to play a position no one had any business asking him to play. Yeah. That's not his fault. He did it the best he could. It's ridiculous to ask someone to basically not only emotionally have to step in for Luka Doncic in terms of where the hearts and minds of the fans were, be in this incredibly roiling mess of a team that you can even decide if it's been fixed by the firing at the top of Nico. And by the way, play a position you have never played. Not like, oh, he used to play in high school, have never played. So I think we have seen really great things from him in these last, 10 games. Again, I didn't do the stats in front of me. I think he will end up being Rookie of the Year if we are only going on these 20 games and you have to take out the games where he was basically almost not even playing. If the full Cooper Flagg was not playing, sure, Con can nipple me. Go for it.
I'm amazed by what I've seen so far from Con Knipple. Look, everybody knew he could shoot. That was his biggest strength coming out of Duke. I've been surprised at how good he is going to the rim. I've been surprised at how good he is finishing at the rim. He is looking like a complete player. When he was drafted, I'm thinking to myself, all right, you got the floor spacing shooter to play opposite LaMelo, opposite Brandon Miller, opposite Miles Bridges, to give them a little more space to operate. It made sense. I didn't expect him to look like this complete and offensive player. He goes to the basket like a 3 or 4 year pro. When I say by that, like he goes to the basket like he's physically stronger than he is, which gives me a lot of optimism that when he gets into the weight room over the next couple of summers, he's going to be even better in that aspect. Right now, as we tape this, he is a 43% three-point shooter, so that's great. But he's excellent off the dribble. He's excellent in the mid-range. He's got a deep bag of moves that he can go to, or at least deeper than I thought he had. And he's averaging like 3 assists per game, which is not great, but it's still a decent number for a guy that didn't come in being thought of as this great playmaker. So Con Knipple, to me, is number one. Cedric Howard in Memphis is the other guy that's on my list. He was acquired by the Grizzlies. I think it was just draft night, some kind of deal for Jan Hansen with Portland and some draft stuff. He's getting a lot of Kawhi Leonard comparisons in Memphis. Kind of a two-way wing, strong kid, getting opportunity in Memphis with all the injuries they've had there. And Cooper Flagg is on my list as well. You're probably right that when the season ends, Cooper Flagg is probably going to separate, I would imagine, as he gets more comfortable.
He's already looked great.
In
specific games.
Look, he does. He looks great. And maybe they get some guys back. Look, AD's going to come back at some point. Kyrie probably going to come back at some point, and Cooper Flagg will get some of the attention taken off him. So I think the cream will rise to the top with Cooper Flagg. But right now, to me, Con Knipple. Con Knipple, great draft pick by Jeff Peterson. Great pick. They got themselves a legit 10-year starter in Con Knipple, a three-point shooting menace that I'm telling you, over the next few years, is going to develop into a complete guy.
What number did he go?
4.
Just interesting. It's just interesting.
Yeah, good pick. That's how it works.
Yep.
Most improved. I know that was on my list.
Yes.
The most improved player, which is another interesting race. Now, I should say this first. I hate it when voters vote lottery picks for most improved. I hate it. Like, I've seen some stuff. Who was I seeing recently? Who was it? Like Wembanyama for most improved.
No one's saying.
I read it. I swear to God. Go to bed. Go to bed on that. Wembanyama is not getting the NBA's most improved award. Yes, he is improved, but he's supposed to. He is a transformational, generational talent. Most improved belongs to guys that were either unknown second-round draft picks or guys that were kind of floating around in the universe for a while and just found a different level to get to. So most improved. I think I have 3 guys that I feel pretty good about on my list. Give me your list for most improved.
I mean, I'm surprised you think this is close. My list starts and ends with Jalen Duren.
Oh, yeah.
Who else is on your list?
Okay. Let's go with Duren first. Let's talk about him because he's on my list.
Is he not first on your list?
He's not first on my list.
Ooh, exciting.
Jalen Duren makes, even though he was a lottery pick, he makes the list because
I don't
he's
have the same prejudices you do,
but
Chris
he's what like
Mannix.
no, but he makes the list. He's not because he's had like 3 or 4 years where it looked like his ceiling was Steven Adams. And that's not an insult to Steven Adams. Steven Adams is a 10, 12-year player at this point. Really solid frontline center, still a solid frontline center. But Jalen Duren never averaged more than 13, 14 points per game. He looked like a guy that was going to set monster screens, score a little bit at the rim, average double-double, be worth $25 million per year, and be a starting center in the league for a long time. I didn't expect him to get to 20. Like, that's the big jump right there from Jalen Duren, where he looks like a guy you can give the ball to low post, mid post, and he can go out there and make a play. So I don't argue with Jalen Duren, but 2 guys to me that came out of nowhere and are putting up really good numbers. AJ Mitchell in Oklahoma City
I knew.
was like, AJ Mitchell was a 2-way guy last year.
I know your AJ Mitchell love. I respect your AJ Mitchell love, and I'm going to give you kudos on your AJ Mitchell love when we get to 6th Man of the Year.
Okay.
So
Which
I'm
he might not even
with you on that.
he might not even qualify for at some point. Like, I guess it depends on when Jalen Williams comes back, but he's been starting a bunch of games as well. AJ Mitchell, out of nowhere,
Yes.
2-way guy. I think he barely played in the playoffs, like the finals. He had like a couple minutes in game 1. That didn't last. No expectations on AJ Mitchell.
No, you're
coming
right.
this year.
I mean, he definitely is in the conversation for this one. I just think of him more as a 6th Man of the Year
made
candidate.
enormous improvements this year. The other guy is Ryan Rollins in Milwaukee.
Yes.
Who another
The guy the Wizards cut.
Yes, he was part of the Jordan Poole trade and Chris
was.
Paul. Like he bounced around. He had 3 teams in the first few
There was
years.
a shoplifting incident. The Wizards have obviously had some issues with the law
Just a few.
with their team, and I think they just decided we don't run that kind of team, which I understand. But also, wow, he looks good in Milwaukee.
You know, he played some minutes last year. He didn't necessarily come out of nowhere, but he was nowhere near this level. Like, I don't know where he's at, like 15, 16 points per game. Like he's been outstanding for them.
You see, I got the Wizards into another podcast.
You did get the Wizards into that. That's
Thank
well
you.
done. Well done with the Wizards.
Checking.
Still
Make
can't.
sure we record the streak continues. Go ahead.
Already tanking it. It's not even Thanksgiving. The Rollins, you know, Giannis is the driving force behind what's happening in Milwaukee, but where would they be without Ryan Rollins? Like he's been making plays. Like he has stepped into that void that Damian Lillard and others vacated and thrived in that spot. And like that's another guy that I couldn't have picked out of a lineup in the preseason. I couldn't have done it. AJ Mitchell knew who he was, never expected this, thought he might be splitting time in the G League this year. He's a starter on a team that's leading the Western Conference. I have Mitchell 1, Rollins 2, Duren 3.
Wow.
Those are
All
my
right,
top 3.
let me throw you some Duren to try to get him
Give me
up your
that.
list.
Give me those Duren hot takes.
Okay. First of all, he is just bulldozing into people.
Yes.
Just crashing through the paint. And I maybe have just an affinity for guys who can do that. I mean, that's the style of basketball that I miss when it's not a part of a game. And he's doing it, man. He's, in terms of improvement, he is averaging the most points, most rebounds, most steals, most blocks, and most free throw attempts of his career. In fact, he's getting to the line 7.3 times a game, more than double what his career average is, and he's making 78% of those. So in all the facets of the game, I feel like he's hitting. He's protecting the rim at an elite rate because this is a 2-way league, Chris Mannix. When people say, oh, he's a 2-way player, they're all supposed to be 2-way players. He is a 2-way player. It is interesting to me, it's, allowing just 55% shooting at the rim, which is exceptional and right near the top of the league. You know, it's always interesting to me, too. I love the Fred VanVleets. I love the bet on yourself guys, and Durham did a bet on himself. He wanted, $30 million a year? The Pistons says, we're not sure you're worth that. Let's see how this year plays out. Oh, I think he's going to get more than that. Yeah. I think $30 million would have been a bargain. So all the parts of his story I like. I just like what he's doing for this Pistons team 20 games in. You're right. I guess, Mitchell, I kind of should have thought of more in this because I love what he's doing also. So I'll put them tied there with you, but I'm not moving off of it completely for those first
Duren's
20
a monster.
games.
He is he's like a juiced up Steven Adams.
Exactly.
A much better version at this point of Steven Adams. All right, you mentioned 6 man. Let's go there.
Yeah.
I got one name pretty clear on this list, and it's not AJ Mitchell. And maybe that's because I think AJ Mitchell might not qualify, as I said. Like, he might wind up being a starter for too many games with.
Is there a number?
I think it's got to be less than half.
Okay.
Start less than half of the game. So but even like sometimes with 6 man, if a guy started like 35 games, I don't
Just enough
really,
people don't vote for him.
I just don't. I don't do. He's not really a six man.
Yeah,
I want the guy.
I've certainly taken that into account in the past.
I want the guy starting less than 10, right? Like the fill-in starter, not the guy that's playing big minutes as a starter in the place of an injury. So AJ Mitchell certainly, if you go by the letter of the law, qualifies. But Jaime Jaquez Jr.
He's also right up there
top
on
of
my
my
list.
Top of my list. Like, I don't know. Like, first year, Jaquez Jr. looks like the steal of the draft.
Yeah.
Like, they draft him out of UCLA. Everybody's like, oh, you're drafting the old guy. Turns out the old guy can play. Turns
Sure.
out when you draft the older, was he a senior?
Yeah.
Works out for you when you want a guy
Sure.
that can play right away. Stepped in, looked like a contributor. Miami Heat get themselves another player. Last year,
Yep.
cratered. Number 3 is shooting numbers. Never been a three-point shooter and still
Yep.
isn't a three-point shooter. But across the board, his shooting numbers collapsed. Wasn't getting minutes in the rotation. Just looked like maybe either it was fool's gold his first year, sophomore slump, whatever you want to call it. He has bounced back in a big way with the numbers coming back, the shooting percentage, total shooting percentage. I think he's still under 20% from three or something like that. He's not a good three-point shooter. But overall, in this Miami offense, he is a perfect fit. He just fits.
I agree. He's on my list, but he is second on my list. And maybe Mitchell won't qualify. But I think that Mitchell, just his versatility, the way he's contributing defensively, I think, let's see, last night versus Portland, 20 points, 8 for 8, 100% from the field, including 2 for 2 from 3.
He's the throwback player, like
Right?
an inside the arc game.
1 rebound, 4 assists, 2 steals. This was in 24 minutes. AJ's averaging 17 points a game. Primary ball handling, playmaking. It's just a new layer to that offense. To me, a sixth man is, yes, the first guy off the bench, but he is the guy who steps in when one of your starters is hurt. That is part of the definition of what makes a good sixth man. And he is, to me, just been a huge part. Yes, Shea has played at an MVP level, but he's a huge reason that they are where they are in the standings. And I just kind of think he's a sixth man. And I love, he's a fun player to watch. He's also just a real quality person, which is nice to run into in the NBA. I mean, I think those guys do such a great job with leadership. And I think he's been a real important part of that locker room. Even when he had his down year last year, he's done a great job of helping them weather the storm without Tyler Hero. Also, he's not played as well in the last few games. There's a little bit of a regression to the mean. You just kind of yada-yada'd over the three-point percentage.
It's not good.
He's shooting 20% from
Is he at
three.
20? That's an improvement.
20.7, which
Okay,
I guess
then
is
he must have, did he make in that
technically
8 for 8 the other night? Did he make a couple threes? I think he probably did.
He must have.
Because there was a 1 when I was doing this research.
Among players who play, which is how I always say it. I mean, we can raise that 25 attempts per season, whatever it is. But among players who play, he's 7th worst in the NBA from 3. And I think that factors into it. You know who would not qualify only 20 games in, but I like him as a sleeper for this conversation as we keep going? Reed Shepherd, baby.
Yeah. If you watch Reed Shepherd
He had a
opening
great
night,
game the other night, too, over the weekend. He had...
people, I was at that opening night game against Oklahoma City, and the criticism that was dumped on Reed Shepherd after that was, to me, completely outlandish.
You mean the NBA commentary on television was reactionary?
He stunk that night.
And extremist?
He stunk that night.
That's
but
weird.
He's getting minutes on opening night against the best defensive team in the league. He's got Lou Dort on him on opening night, and he struggled. Shocking. I think Kevin Durant's done an unbelievable job of helping Reed Shepherd along. His mentorship with Reed Shepherd has been apparent. You hear it from the people inside the Rockets. You can see it with the naked eye. He is making sure that Reed Shepherd gets his touches, that Reed Shepherd's confidence stays up. I said before the season, I'm on record. I said, I thought the Rockets were going to be fine at point guard. The Fred VanVleet injury, to me, was wildly overrated for Houston.
You have said that, yes.
Amen Thompson was going to be fine as a lead playmaker. And if Reed Shepherd could play a little bit, just a little bit, then they were going to be fine. Looks like Reed Shepherd can play a lot of bit.
Yeah.
Reed Shepherd was the 3rd overall pick in the draft 18 months ago. He can play. So the Rockets, sure, they'd love to have VanVleet back. He's a veteran. But giving Reed Shepherd this opportunity is only going to make them better short and long term.
I'm just keeping an eye on him. That's all I'm
Reed
saying.
Shepherd. Quick honorary mention
Okay.
here. Jamal Sheed up in Toronto.
Yeah.
Not great numbers, not going to be in consideration. But I've watched a lot of Raptors the last couple of weeks trying to figure out, again, if this is sustainable up there. He comes in, he defends, he play makes. Again, not putting up big numbers, but he's a reliable guy. And when you've got a backcourt of guys like Quickly and RJ Barrett's there and Ingram on the wing, you need a reliable, sturdy, defensive-minded guy who can play make like Jamal Sheed. I think he's been a huge reason they're successful regardless of the numbers.
Can I ask you a non-basketball question? Yes. Mr. Writer?
Yes.
He can play make?
Play make.
He can make plays.
Yeah. He play makes.
No.
He play makes. I've used that. I think.
You may be using it.
Maybe.
You can be a playmaker.
The SI copy desk has never killed that, so I'm going to let that make that one
play
stick.
makes. He makes plays.
Did I have anything else on my list? Did we put defensive player of the year?
You had
there?
defensive player on the year on your list?
This is an interesting one, too, because I think it's natural to say that Victor Wembanyama is going to run away with it, and he is.
He's not the betting favorite anymore.
I know. This is why I'm saying, Victor is the singular most disruptive defensive player in the league. I think every coach would agree with that. But Chet Holmgren, I've spent a lot of time in Oklahoma City the last few weeks.
Yes, you have.
And when coaches do their pregame stuff, Chet Holmgren is often the first guy they mention. They tell their team, you got to be aware of where Chet Holmgren is on the floor. His weak side shot blocking, his team defense, the ability to play two positions. That's a big reason, probably the biggest reason why Oklahoma City is number one in defensive efficiency.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, offensively, we're not talking about offense for defensive player of the year, but I just wanted to get this in. Chet Holmgren, I just think because we're talking so much about the defense and the DPOY conversation, I just want to make a note offensively, just how well he's playing. Mm-hmm. Man, it's fun watching him develop. 60% shooting, 39% from three. Second best player on that team with Jay Will still out. The blocks per game, it's all there. So, yes, I think he absolutely will be the defensive player of the year if Wembanyama doesn't make the games mark. And that is, by the way, why Wembanyama has fallen in the odds. It's not because the Consignati thinks that Chet Holmgren is somehow suddenly better than Victor. He's not. I'm sorry. Victor should be the defensive player of the year. We have this, here's my other soapbox. I can jump from one soapbox to the other. Let me get off my award soapbox and onto my 65-game soapbox. This is dumb, guys. This is dumb. If Victor Wembanyama plays 63 games and he doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year and he plays defensively the way we all expect him to all season, this is dumb. I'm sorry. The award is supposed to tell you who is the best defender that year, and it should be up to the voters to decide how many games that should be. Because in your mind, if you were a coach, would you rather have Victor Wembanyama for 63 games, or would you rather have the next guy? And maybe if the next guy is Chet Holmgren, you'd rather have him for 68 games or however many he plays. But if it's only a few games difference, and you ask me as a coach who I'd rather have Victor. I just sat here and said, man, Chet's not just the defensive player of the year candidate. He's an all-around player, and look how well he's developing. I'd still rather have Victor. And I should get to decide that as a voter, as a coach would decide that. And I understand that stars not playing is a problem. I agree with the NBA it's a problem. I just have never thought that tying awards was the solution, because awards are a judgment event, and there should be more judgment allowed in them.
Well, don't you think it's kind of two separate arguments? Yes, no one is going to suggest that anyone but Victor Wembanyama is the best defensive player in the NBA. No one's going to suggest that. But these are 82-game awards.
But
they
this
are
is
regular
where I
season
get
awards.
back to who would you rather have? And I've had this conversation when it's been Rookie of the Year, someone's only played so and such and such games. I think there should be a threshold for every voter based on would you rather have, this is the threshold. I'm giving you my formula. My formula as a voter is I look at the top two guys who I would consider, right? If the guy who is my number one has played fewer games, I think to myself, if I was a GM or a front office guy or a coach or a teammate, would I rather have the guy who's played fewer games but I think is better for fewer games in my season? Would I legit rather have them for fewer games of a season, because it's an 82-game season, than the other guy who's played X number of more games? So in a case where the front runner is so much of a better player than the next player, and we've had that in Rookie of the Year conversations or six-man conversations or et cetera, where there's just an enormous drop-off, right? I can sit there and say, Even if the guy I think is better has played only 58 games this year, the drop-off is so big to the next guy that I'd rather have that guy on my roster for 58 games than I would have the next guy for 68 games or 72 games or whatever he's played. If it's a guy like Chet and a guy like Victor, where the drop-off is not as huge, obviously. However, I don't think Chet's playing in that many more than 65 games this year.
Maybe not.
Right? I mean, he's already missed games to injury.
Yep.
You can only miss 17. With this rule of 65 games, you can only miss 17. Victor is currently out with an injury that the estimation is it'll keep him out 8 to 10 games. Then we have to talk about, do these guys play on the second night of back-to-backs? How much is that an issue? If you're taking those out, then he's already missed the threshold, that kind of thing. Chet Holmgren, I think, is going to miss some games also. If you have that body type, if you're Victor, if you're Chet, you're going to miss some games. So then if it becomes a conversation toward the end of the year of would I rather have Victor Wembanyama for 63 games than Chet Holmgren for 67 games? If I'm going by the NBA's rule, I have to just say Chet Holmgren, and Victor's not even on the ballot. I personally, if I'm given that choice, if I was a GM, if I was a front office guy, if I was a coach, I would say I want Victor for 63 over Chet for 67. I should be allowed as a voter to make that same choice. And that, to me, is where the line is. It's not a hard and fast number line. It's not got to be 60 or 65. It's would I rather have that guy for the number of games he played that season over the next guy for the number of games he played. And right now, I just think unless Victor ends up playing like 40 games or something, I mean, how many did he play last year? Like, it's going to be hard for me to say I wouldn't rather have Victor Wembanyama.
I don't know. I kind of go the other way. I like a hard and fast line that players have to hit. I do think dropping it to 60 makes more sense. I couldn't, even before this was in place, I don't think I could bring myself to vote for somebody, maybe I have in the past, I don't know, with a 5 in front of their games played. I think you got to get to at least 60 games.
I just think they shouldn't be tied. The idea that this whole rule was born out of the fact, but they used to leave it to our judgment. Sorry, I've started the sentence 6 times, but go with me here. They used to leave it to our judgment, right? So your judgment is I couldn't vote for a guy with a 5 in front. My judgment is probably around there too, but I want to look at the specific of how many games did this guy play versus the next guy and who would I rather have for that many games, right? But it's probably around the same thing. That should be our judgment. I think that this rule, which was 100% admittedly acknowledged, born out of we want our star players to not rest as much, it shouldn't be tied to awards. Awards are something that go in the NBA record books for all of history, and when memories fade, and they do, people look at these things. How many times did he win this? How many times did they win this? When they're comparing who 60 years ago was a better player than the guy 40 years ago, because none of us remember either of those guys playing. And therefore, it's important. And to tie something like, man, we don't like all this rest in the NBA and these players, they're just sitting on their butts when they shouldn't be and load management, that's fine. Tie it to something else. Tie the number of games you have to play to avoid load management to something else. Tie it to a salary thing. Tie it to a something thing. Tie it to something that's motivating to get these guys to play more games. I'm all for it. Just don't make it this.
Fight the power.
Yeah,
Rachel
man.
Nichols. That's 2 pieces of advice you've given to the NBA on this podcast.
Yes.
We'll see if
They've heard it from me before.
we will see if the powers that be listen. In the meantime, I'm going to go fill up my gas tank.
Well, I was going to say just that, we've heard several. I don't know if the audience has heard all the sirens we've heard, but I wanted to get back to the point that there's been several sirens throughout this podcast outside, and I might vote with your wife now.
Stay away.
I was kind of with her anyway.
Stay away from gas stations.